Captain Lisa Morgan stood in front of the mirror in her quarters aboard the Federation starship Harmony's Edge. She adjusted her dress uniform one more time and took a deep breath. Today was the most important day in human history. After 30 years of trying, Earth finally had a chance to join the Galactic Federation. The dinner meeting tonight would decide everything. Lisa walked down the long corridor to the main conference room. The ship was huge, bigger than any building she had ever seen on Earth. It belonged to the Federation and was designed to host meetings between different alien species. The walls were made of some kind of metal that changed colors as she walked past. Blue lights guided her way through the maze of hallways. She found Admiral Jake Collins waiting for her in the conference room. He was a tall man with gray hair and kind eyes. Jake had been working on this meeting for 5 years. He believed that if the aliens could see how peaceful and friendly humans were, they would let Earth join their big family of planets. "Are you ready for this, Lisa?" Jake asked. His voice was calm, but she could see he was nervous too. "As ready as anyone can be for the most important dinner in human history," Lisa replied. She tried to smile, but her stomach was full of butterflies. The conference room was enormous. The table in the center was round and made of smooth black stone. Around it were different types of chairs designed for different alien bodies. Some were tall and thin, others were wide and flat. There were even some that looked like they were made for creatures without legs at all. Bobby Martinez, the chef they had brought from Earth, was busy setting up the food in the next room. He was a short man with a big smile who loved to cook. Bobby had chosen what he thought were the most normal human foods. He wanted to show the aliens that humans ate simple, harmless things. "I brought barbecue ribs," Bobby had explained earlier. "Everyone loves ribs. And some buffalo wings with hot sauce. The chocolate cake is my grandmother's recipe. And fresh coffee from Colombia. Nothing too crazy." Lisa had agreed. These foods seemed safe and would show human culture without being too strange. She had no idea how wrong they were. The first aliens arrived exactly on time. The doors opened. With a soft hiss, and 3 very different creatures entered the room. Lisa had studied pictures of them for months, but seeing them in person was still shocking. Ambassador Zethkar came first. He looked like a living crystal, about 7 feet tall and shaped like a person. His body was clear like glass, but it sparkled with tiny lights inside. When he moved, he made soft musical sounds like wind chimes. His face was smooth with no nose or mouth. Just 2 bright blue spots where eyes should be. Behind him came Hive Speaker Clickstel. She looked like a giant insect with 6 legs and 4 arms. Her body was covered in shiny green armor that reflected the room's lights. Her head was shaped like a triangle with huge black eyes that seemed to look in all directions at once. When she spoke, her voice sounded like many voices talking together. The last creature was the strangest of all. Coordinator Wisp was not solid at all. He was a cloud of purple gas that moved around in the shape of a person. Sometimes parts of him would drift away, then come back together. He spoke by making the air vibrate, and his voice sounded like it was coming from everywhere at once. "Welcome to the Harmony's Edge," Admiral Collins said, bowing slightly. "We are honored that you have come to meet with us." Ambassador Zethkar stepped forward. When he spoke, his voice was beautiful, like someone singing. "We greet you, humans of Earth. The Federation has watched your species for many years. Tonight, we will decide if you are ready to join our community of peaceful worlds." Lisa felt her heart beating fast. Everything depended on this dinner going well. They all sat down at the big table. The aliens had brought their own food, too. Zethkar had what looked like small pieces of colored glass on his plate. Clickstel had a bowl of something that moved and made tiny squeaking sounds. Wisp did not eat solid food at all, but absorbed nutrients from the air around him. Bobby brought out the human food with great pride. He had spent days preparing everything perfectly. The barbecue ribs were covered in his special sauce. The buffalo wings were crispy and hot. The chocolate cake was beautiful with thick frosting. The coffee smelled rich and strong. "This is food from our world," Jake explained. "We hope you will try some and learn about human culture." The aliens looked at the food with interest. They had special devices that could tell them if food was safe to eat. The devices made soft beeping sounds and showed green lights. Everything seemed fine. Zethkar went first. He picked up a small piece of barbecue rib and somehow absorbed it into his crystal body. For a moment, nothing happened. Then slowly, his whole body began to glow brighter. The tiny lights inside him started flashing faster and faster. Clickstell tried a buffalo wing. She bit into it with her sharp teeth and chewed thoughtfully. Her big black eyes suddenly grew even bigger. She made a sound like 100 bees buzzing at once. Coordinator Wisp surrounded a piece of chocolate cake with his gaseous form. The cake disappeared into his purple cloud. Almost immediately, his shape began to change. Instead of staying in the form of a person, he started to spread out across the room. At first, the humans thought the aliens were enjoying the food. Lisa smiled and felt proud. Maybe this would work after all. But then things started to go wrong. Zethkar's body began glowing so bright that it hurt to look at him. The musical sounds he made got louder and louder until they were almost screaming. The lights inside his crystal body were flashing so fast they looked like lightning. Suddenly, he stood up and started moving in strange ways, like he was dancing, to music no one else could hear. The sound of his movements was so loud that glasses on the table began to crack. The beautiful crystal cups the Federation had provided shattered into pieces. The noise was terrible, like someone scratching glass with metal. Clickstell jumped up from her chair and started running around the room. But she was not running away from anything. She was running in circles, making loud, buzzing sounds and waving all 6 of her arms in the air. She seemed to be dancing too, but her dance was wild and scary. As she ran, she released clouds of smell into the air. The smell was strong and strange, like flowers mixed with metal. It made the human security guards act very strangely. Some of them started fighting with each other for no reason. Others ran away from the room as fast as they could. Coordinator Wisp was getting bigger and bigger. His purple gas was filling up more and more of the room. He seemed to have no control over his shape anymore. Parts of him were drifting into the air vents and through cracks in the walls. "The atmospheric systems!" someone shouted. "He's getting into the ship's air supply." Lisa watched in horror as their peaceful dinner turned into chaos. Alarms started ringing throughout the ship. Red lights flashed warnings in languages she did not understand. Federation security teams rushed into the room wearing special protective suits. "What's happening?" Bobby asked, his face pale with fear. "What did I do wrong?" Admiral Collins was trying to talk to the aliens, but they could not hear him over the noise. Zethkar's crystal body was now so bright it lit up the whole room. Clickstell was still running in circles, but now she was running on the walls and ceiling too. Wisp had grown so large that he was pushing against the walls of the room. Medical teams arrived with special equipment. They had tools designed to help different types of alien bodies. Some of the tools looked like they were made of light. Others were machines that Lisa had never seen before. "We need to evacuate the affected beings immediately," the chief medical officer announced. She was a tall woman with blue skin and silver hair. "Their systems are in extreme distress." The medical teams worked quickly to help the aliens. They put Zethkar in a special container that blocked his bright light. They used some kind of net to catch Clickstell and stop her from running. They had machines that could suck up Wisp's gas and put it back into a smaller space. As the aliens were taken away to the medical bay, Lisa stood in the ruined conference room. The table was covered with broken glass and spilled food. The walls were scratched and dented. The smell from Clickstell still hung in the air. "I don't understand," she said quietly. "It was just normal food, ribs and wings and cake. How could this happen?" Admiral Collins put his hand on her shoulder. His face was sad and worried. "I don't know, Lisa, but I have a feeling our dreams of joining the Federation just got a lot more complicated." Through the window, she could see Federation medical ships arriving to help with the emergency. In the distance, Earth looked small and blue and very far away. Lisa wondered if they would ever get another chance like this one. The dinner was over, but the real trouble was just beginning. 3 days had passed since the dinner disaster, and the aliens were still sick. Dr. Amy Foster walked through the medical wing of the space station, checking on each patient. She was a small woman with brown hair and sharp eyes who had spent her whole life studying alien biology. But she had never seen anything like this before. Ambassador Zethkar was in a special room made of dark glass. His crystal body was still glowing bright, but now the light was different colors. It kept changing from blue to green to red to purple. The lights inside him moved like tiny storms. When Amy looked at him through the protective glass, she could hear him making soft musical sounds. He seemed happy, but he would not respond to anyone trying to talk to him. "He's been like this for 3 days," Dr. Parker said. He was the chief medical officer for the Federation and had been working without sleep to help the aliens. "We've never seen a Vorthan in this state before. His crystal matrix is completely overloaded with neural activity." Amy made notes on her tablet. "What about the others?" They walked to the next room where Hive Speaker Clickstel was being kept. The insect-like alien was in a large cage made of special metal. She was still moving constantly, but now she was building something. She had gathered small pieces of metal and glass and was putting them together in strange patterns. Her 6 arms moved so fast they were hard to see. "She's been building these structures non-stop," Dr. Parker explained. "We don't know what they are, but she gets very angry if we try to take them away. The strangest part is that she's releasing mating pheromones. Her entire species can smell them from 3 star systems away." Amy watched as Clickstel worked on her mysterious construction. The alien's movements were precise and beautiful, like a dance. But there was something wrong about it, too. She was moving too fast, working too hard, never stopping to rest. The third room was the most unusual. Coordinator Wisp was kept in a special container that looked like a large glass bottle. But even inside the container, his purple gas was moving in ways that defied physics. Parts of him would disappear and reappear in different places. Sometimes he would form shapes that looked like faces or animals, then dissolve back into clouds. "The most disturbing thing is that he's been trying to communicate with every gaseous life form in the galaxy," Dr. Parker said. "He's sending out signals through subspace. We've had reports of gas giant creatures responding to his calls from hundreds of light years away." Amy spent the next several hours studying the medical data. The Federation had the best medical technology in the galaxy, but no one understood what was happening to these aliens. Their bodies were not just sick, they were changed. The human food had done something to them that was beyond anything in medical history. That evening, Amy met with Bobby Martinez in the station's small cafeteria. The chef looked terrible. He had not slept well since the dinner, and his hands shook when he held his coffee cup. "I keep thinking about what I did wrong," Bobby said. "I've been cooking for 30 years. I've never hurt anyone with my food before." Amy sat down across from him. "Bobby, I need you to help me understand exactly what you put in those dishes. Every ingredient, every spice, every sauce. We need to figure out what caused this." Bobby nodded and pulled out his notebook. He had written down everything he could remember about the dinner. "The ribs had my special barbecue sauce. That's tomatoes, vinegar, brown sugar, onions, garlic, and about 12 different spices. The buffalo wings had hot sauce made from cayenne peppers. The chocolate cake had cocoa, sugar, eggs, flour, vanilla extract, and butter. The coffee was just regular Colombian beans." Amy wrote down each ingredient carefully. "Tell me about the spices in the barbecue sauce." "Well, there's paprika, black pepper, cumin, chili powder, oregano, thyme, mustard powder, and a few others. Nothing unusual. I buy them at any grocery store on Earth." Amy felt a chill run down her spine. She had been studying the blood samples from the aliens, and now she was beginning to understand what had happened. "Bobby, I think the problem is that what we consider normal food contains chemicals that are like drugs to alien species." Over the next few days, Amy worked with a team of Federation scientists to analyze every ingredient from the dinner. What they discovered was shocking. The capsaicin in the hot sauce, the compound that made peppers spicy, had acted like a powerful stimulant on Zethkar's crystal nervous system. It was like he had taken the strongest drug possible for his species. The proteins in the barbecue meat had triggered something in Clixtel's biology that made her think it was time to mate and build a nest. The complex mixture of amino acids had sent signals to her brain that activated instincts her species had not felt for thousands of years. The caffeine in the coffee had caused Coordinator Wisp's gaseous form to become hyperactive. His molecules were moving so fast that he could not control his shape anymore. He was literally high on coffee, but the worst discovery was yet to come. Amy found that the effects were not wearing off. The aliens were not getting better. If anything, they were getting worse. Their bodies seemed to be addicted to the chemicals in the human food. "We need to get samples of every type of food on Earth," Amy told Admiral Collins during their daily meeting. "If these simple dishes can do this, we need to know what other human foods might be dangerous." The Admiral looked old and tired. The stress of the situation was wearing on everyone. "Amy, there are thousands of different foods on Earth. We have spices from every continent, cooking methods that go back thousands of years. How can we test everything?" Amy showed him her latest research. "It's worse than we thought, Admiral. I've been looking at the basic building blocks of human food. Almost everything we eat contains compounds that are considered controlled substances by Federation law. Sugar affects the brain chemistry of at least 40 different species. Salt can cause hallucinations in silicon-based life forms. Even something as simple as bread contains yeast, which releases alcohol as it digests." The news got worse when they received reports from across the galaxy. Word of the dinner incident had spread, and now there were black market dealers trying to get their hands on human food. The Federation's intelligence service reported that a single package of Earth hot sauce was being sold for more money than most planets made in a year. Commander Val Morrison, the Federation's top security officer, came to brief them on the situation. He was a serious man with scars on his face from years of fighting space pirates and smugglers. "We've intercepted communications between criminal organizations," he said. "They're calling human food the ultimate high. There are crime bosses offering entire fleets of ships for just a few Earth spices. We've had 3 armed conflicts already over captured food samples." Amy felt sick to her stomach. "How did this happen? How did we not know?" Commander Morrison showed them star charts marking all the places where human food had been detected. "The problem is that your food affects different species in different ways. What makes one alien happy might kill another. We've had reports of entire civilizations abandoning their work to search for human snacks." The most frightening report came from the edge of the galaxy. A trading post had somehow acquired a bag of potato chips from Earth within hours. Every alien at the post had tried the chips. The ones who survived were found 3 days later, still searching through garbage trying to find more chips. The trading post was completely abandoned. Dr. Parker joined them for the briefing. "The medical implications are staggering. We're seeing addiction patterns we've never encountered before. The affected aliens show withdrawal symptoms if they can't get more human food. Some are willing to do anything to get it." Amy realized that the situation was much bigger than just 3 sick aliens. Human food was not just dangerous to individual creatures, it was a threat to the stability of the entire galaxy. She thought about her home planet, where people ate these dangerous foods every day without any problems. "We need to warn Earth," she said. "People need to know that our food is like a weapon to the rest of the galaxy." Admiral Collins nodded grimly. "I'll send a message to Earth Command immediately. But Amy, I'm afraid this is just the beginning. If human food is this dangerous, what does that mean for our chances of joining the Federation?" Amy looked at the reports spread across the table. Each one told the same story. Human food was causing chaos wherever it appeared. She thought about her grandmother's apple pie, her father's grilled burgers, her mother's spaghetti sauce. All of it was apparently too dangerous for the galaxy. "I don't know," she said quietly, "but I have a feeling things are about to get much worse." Outside the window, she could see Federation ships arriving at the station. They were coming to investigate the crisis that had started with a simple dinner. Amy wondered if humans would ever be able to share a meal with aliens again, or if they were destined to eat alone in the universe forever. The ancient space station Nexus Prime had never seen anything like this before. Captain Tony Barnes stood at the entrance to the Great Assembly Hall, watching as representatives from 847 different species filed into the massive chamber. The hall was so big that Earth's largest stadium could fit inside it 20 times over. Today, every seat would be filled for the emergency session about human food. Tony had been chosen to represent Earth because he was calm under pressure and good at talking to people. But as he watched the aliens taking their places, he felt very small and alone. Some of the creatures were so strange that he could not even tell which end was their head. Others glowed with their own light or moved without touching the ground. High Chancellor Vex Ara floated above the center of the hall. She was so old that her people had evolved beyond having physical bodies. She existed as pure energy, a shimmering cloud of light that pulsed with different colors when she spoke. Her voice seemed to come from everywhere at once, speaking directly into the minds of everyone present. "We gather today to discuss a crisis that threatens the stability of our galaxy," she announced. "The humans of Earth have brought substances into our space that are proving to be more dangerous than any weapon we have ever encountered." Tony felt his heart sink. He had hoped that the Federation would be willing to work with Earth to solve the problem. But from the Chancellor's words, it sounded like they had already decided that humans were dangerous. The first species to speak was the methane breathers of Titan 7. Their representative was a tall, thin creature that looked like it was made of blue ice. When it spoke, its voice was like the sound of wind through caves. "Our world has been contaminated," the representative said. "A single drop of human vanilla extract somehow reached our atmospheric processors. The entire planet experienced what your scientists call euphoria for 3 months. Our people stopped working, stopped eating, stopped caring about anything except the wonderful feeling the vanilla gave them." Tony watched as images appeared on the giant screens around the hall. They showed the methane breather cities empty, their factories silent, their people floating in the air with expressions of pure joy on their faces. It would have been beautiful if it was not so terrifying. "We had to rebuild our entire civilization from scratch," the representative continued. "Half our population is still in treatment centers, trying to forget the taste of that one drop of vanilla. We demand that Earth be quarantined immediately." The next speaker was even more disturbing. The Silicon Shepherds of Kepler 90 looked like walking rocks, but they were actually very intelligent farmers who raised mineral-based livestock. Their representative was a large boulder that somehow managed to express anger and frustration. "Human black pepper destroyed our way of life," the rock creature said. "We had been raising our silicon sheep for 10,000 years. They were simple, happy creatures that ate rocks and produced valuable crystals. But when they were exposed to black pepper, they became self-aware." Tony tried to understand what that meant. The screens showed fields full of what looked like crystal sheep, but these sheep were building things, making art, and even writing poetry. They had become intelligent overnight. "Now our livestock demand equal rights," the Silicon Shepherd continued. "They have formed unions and are refusing to produce crystals unless we pay them wages. Our entire economy has collapsed because of one human spice." The testimonies continued for hours. Each story was worse than the last. The collective consciousness of Proxima Centauri was perhaps the most frightening. They were a species that shared thoughts across billions of individuals. Like a giant brain made of separate bodies, their representative was a small, gray creature with huge eyes. When it spoke, its voice was actually the voices of billions of beings speaking together. "One of our members consumed a single human potato chip," they said. "The flavor was so intense that it overwhelmed our entire collective consciousness. For the first time in our history, we experienced individual desire. Billions of us became obsessed with finding more of these chips." The screens showed chaos across their star system. Ships were abandoning their missions to search for human snacks. Entire planets had stopped their work to focus on finding more potato chips. The collective consciousness was tearing itself apart over junk food. We had to surgically remove the taste receptors from the affected individual, they continued. But the memory of that flavor still haunts our collective dreams. We believe human food is a form of biological warfare. Tony stood up to respond. The hall fell silent as hundreds of alien eyes turned toward him. He had prepared a speech, but now all his words seemed useless. With respect to the honored Chancellor and all the representatives here, he began, humans eat this food every day. We have been eating these same things for thousands of years. We had no idea they would affect other species this way. A creature that looked like a giant flower with teeth interrupted him. Ignorance is not an excuse for bringing weapons into our space, it said. Your species is clearly too dangerous to be allowed near civilized worlds. Tony tried to stay calm. We want to work with the Federation to solve this problem. Our scientists are already developing ways to make our food safe for other species. We could have special restaurants with food that won't hurt anyone. But his words were drowned out by angry sounds from the crowd. Some aliens were hissing, others were making noises like breaking glass. A few were glowing brighter with what Tony assumed was anger. High Chancellor Vexara raised her energy form higher above the crowd. The human representative speaks of restaurants and safe food, she said. But we have evidence that human cuisine is already being used as a weapon. The screens showed surveillance footage from across the galaxy. Crime bosses were using human spices to control their enemies. Pirates were demanding human food as ransom. Instead of money, entire governments were being overthrown by populations demanding access to human snacks. Your food has caused more conflicts in the past month than we have seen in the past century, the Chancellor continued. 3 wars have already been fought over captured human food supplies. The warrior clans of Rigel 7 have declared that they will invade Earth itself to secure a supply of barbecue sauce. Tony felt the room spinning around him. He had come here hoping to find a way for Earth to join the Federation peacefully. Instead, he was learning that human food was causing wars across the galaxy. The representative from the Crystalline Confederation spoke next. These beings looked like living diamonds and were known for their logic and careful thinking. We have analyzed over 2,000 compounds found in human food, they said. Every single one is classified as a controlled substance under Federation law. Many are considered weapons of mass destruction. The screen showed chemical diagrams that Tony did not understand, but he could see the red warning symbols that marked dangerous materials. There were thousands of them, and they were all found in normal human food. A single human hamburger contains enough psychoactive compounds to incapacitate an entire star system, the crystalline representative continued. Your species appears to have evolved on a planet so chemically violent that you have developed immunity to substances that would kill most other life forms. An alien that looked like a walking tree raised several branch-like arms. We propose immediate quarantine of the Sol system, it said. No human food should be allowed to leave Earth. The risk is too great. Other voices joined in agreement. Tony could hear the word quarantine being repeated in dozens of different languages. Some aliens were calling for even stronger measures. A few were suggesting that Earth should be destroyed entirely to prevent the spread of dangerous food. Tony felt panic rising in his chest. He had come here to help Earth join the galaxy, but instead, he was watching the galaxy decide to lock Earth away forever. High Chancellor Vexara called for order. We have heard testimony from 47 different species, she said. All report significant damage from exposure to human cuisine. The evidence is clear that these substances pose a threat to galactic stability. She paused, and Tony could feel the weight of her ancient wisdom pressing down on him. However, we must also consider that the humans appear to be unaware of the effects of their food. They have not acted with malicious intent. A small spark of hope flickered in Tony's chest. Maybe there was still a chance for Earth. Therefore, the Chancellor continued, we will vote on 3 possible responses. First, complete quarantine of the Sol system. Second, destruction of Earth to prevent contamination. Third, supervised integration with severe restrictions on human food exports. Tony realized that even the best option would mean that Earth would never be truly free. Humans would always be seen as dangerous, always be watched and controlled. The dream of joining the Federation as equals was over. As the votes were counted, Tony looked out through the great windows of Nexus Prime. Somewhere out there, Earth was spinning peacefully around its sun. People were eating dinner, sharing meals with their families, enjoying the simple pleasure of good food. They had no idea that their pizza and ice cream were considered weapons of war by the rest of the galaxy. The voting continued late into the night, but Tony already knew that nothing would ever be the same. President Linda Hayes stood at the podium in the White House, looking out at the crowd of reporters and cameras. The news from the Galactic Council had reached Earth 3 days ago, and panic was spreading across the planet. People were afraid that aliens might attack Earth or that humanity would be trapped in their solar system forever. "My fellow Americans and citizens of Earth," she began, "we face a challenge unlike any in human history. Our food, the very thing that brings us together as families and communities, has been declared dangerous by the Galactic Federation, but we will not give up. We will find a way to solve this problem and earn our place among the stars." Behind her sat General Frank Cooper, a tough military man who had been put in charge of the Culinary Crisis Committee. Next to him was Chef Maria Santos, one of the best cooks in the world, and Dr. Kevin Wright, a scientist who understood chemicals better than almost anyone else on Earth. After the speech, they gathered in a secure meeting room deep inside the Pentagon. The walls were covered with charts showing different alien species and lists of foods that had caused problems. It looked more like a war room than a kitchen planning session. "We have 2 main goals," General Cooper explained to his team. "First, we need to create food that aliens can eat safely. Second, we need to stop the black market trade that's causing wars across the galaxy." Chef Maria looked at the long list of banned ingredients. "General, if we remove all these chemicals, we won't have food anymore. We'll have cardboard. Sugar is banned because it makes some aliens hallucinate. Salt causes problems for silicon-based life forms. Even water has been reported to cause issues with some gas creatures." Dr. Wright nodded grimly. "The problem is that Earth's biosphere is incredibly complex compared to most planets. Our plants and animals evolved to survive in a world with thousands of different threats. That's why our food is so chemically rich. What we call flavor, the galaxy calls poison." While the official team worked on solutions, a different kind of problem was growing in space. Detective Rachel Stone of the Federation Police had been tracking smugglers for 15 years, but she had never seen anything like the human food trade. Her ship, the Peacekeeper, floated near the asteroid belt where most illegal trading happened. Rachel was watching a meeting between 2 of the galaxy's most dangerous criminals. Through her telescope, she could see Danny Miller, a human smuggler who had somehow escaped from Earth before the quarantine was announced. Danny was talking to Zork the Terrible, a crime boss who controlled drug traffic in 12 star systems. But today they were not talking about normal drugs. They were negotiating over a small bag of Earth peanuts. "These are fresh from Earth," Danny was saying. "Roasted and salted, just like humans eat them. I've got buyers lined up from here, too." The Andromeda Galaxy. Zark was a huge creature with 6 arms and skin like armor. He picked up one peanut with his smallest hand and examined it carefully. "My scientists tell me that one of these nuts contains enough sodium to give a crystalline being hallucinations for a week." "That's the beauty of it," Danny replied. "Humans eat handfuls of these things while watching movies. We've got a whole planet full of people who are immune to the galaxy's most powerful drugs." Rachel had heard enough. She signaled her team to move in. But as her ships surrounded the criminals, she realized something disturbing. This was just one small trade. According to her intelligence reports, there were hundreds of other smugglers doing the same thing across the galaxy, back on Earth. The situation was getting stranger every day. News reports showed alien ships trying to sneak into Earth's atmosphere. Most were stopped by the Federation blockade, but some got through. These were not invasion ships, they were desperate aliens trying to get human food. The first incident happened in New York City. A small alien craft landed in Central Park at midnight. The pilot was a creature that looked like a walking flower. It had traveled 300 light years just to try a hot dog from a street vendor. "Please," the alien begged the police officers who found it. "I must taste the legendary Earth mustard. My people have heard stories of its power. I will pay anything." Similar incidents were happening all over the world. Aliens were offering entire spaceships for a single slice of pizza. They were bribing government officials with advanced technology in exchange for access to ice cream. Some were even offering to share the secrets of faster-than-light travel for a bag of potato chips. Dr. Patricia Young, a philosopher at Harvard University, was writing about the ethical problems of the food ban. Her articles were being read across the galaxy, translated into hundreds of alien languages. "The Federation's response is a form of cultural discrimination," she wrote. "They are denying humanity the right to share one of our most basic cultural expressions. Food is not just nutrition for humans, it is how we show love, celebrate life, and connect with each other." Her words inspired protests on dozens of worlds. Aliens who had tried human food were organizing into groups they called Human Food Appreciation Societies. They argued that they should have the right to eat whatever they wanted, even if it was dangerous. The most famous of these groups was led by Ambassador Zethkar, the crystal alien who had been affected by the barbecue sauce. He had recovered from his initial reaction, but he still glowed slightly brighter than normal. He claimed that the experience had opened his mind to new possibilities. "The humans call it flavor," he said in a speech broadcast across the galaxy. "But it is more than that. It is a way of experiencing reality that my species had forgotten. For thousands of years, we have eaten only for nutrition. The humans have shown us that food can be art, can be joy, can be transcendence." His words were inspiring, but they were also causing problems. Protests were breaking out on Vorthan worlds as young crystal beings demanded the right to try human food. The government was struggling to maintain order. Similar problems were happening everywhere. On the insect worlds, young hive speakers were rebelling against their elders, demanding access to buffalo wings. On gas giant stations, coordinators were going on strike until their governments allowed them to try human coffee. The situation became a full crisis when it was discovered that several high-ranking Federation officials had been secretly eating human food. The scandal was called Spicegate, and it rocked the Federation government to its core. The investigation revealed that Senator Quindle, one of the most vocal opponents of human cuisine, had been receiving regular shipments of Earth black pepper. Admiral Vextrin, who had voted for the complete quarantine of Earth, was found to have a secret stash of chocolate bars in his office. Most shocking of all was the discovery that High Chancellor Vexara herself had been experimenting with human vanilla extract. As a being of pure energy, she did not eat food in the normal way, but she had been absorbing the vanilla's chemical signature into her energy matrix. "The hypocrisy is staggering," wrote one Federation journalist. "Our leaders tell us that human food is too dangerous for the galaxy while they secretly indulge in it themselves. How can we trust their judgment when they cannot resist the very thing they claim to protect us from?" The scandal gave new ammunition to those opposing the food ban. Protests grew larger and more organized. Some alien groups even began making pilgrimages toward Earth, hoping to break through the blockade and reach the source of the legendary cuisine on Earth. People watched the news with a mixture of amazement and fear. Their simple foods had caused the biggest political crisis in galactic history. Restaurants that had been struggling to stay open during the lockdown suddenly found themselves famous across the galaxy. Tony's Pizza in Chicago received a message from the Andromeda Galaxy offering to trade 3 planets for the recipe for deep dish pizza. A small bakery in Paris was contacted by aliens willing to give up their star system's entire gold supply for 1 croissant. Even fast food chains were being treated like centers of cosmic power, but the fame came with danger. Earth was surrounded. by Federation ships, but now those ships had to deal with waves of civilian aliens trying to reach the planet. Some were peaceful food seekers, but others were criminals and pirates who saw Earth as the ultimate prize. The black market for human food was creating chaos across the galaxy. Wars were breaking out between species trying to control trade routes. Pirates were hijacking ships not for their cargo, but for any trace of human food that might be aboard. Danny Miller and his smuggling operation had grown into a massive criminal empire. He had ships hidden in asteroid fields and secret bases on remote moons. His organization was so powerful that some planets were paying him protection money to keep other criminals away. I never thought I'd become the galaxy's most wanted criminal. For selling peanuts, Danny said during a secret meeting with his lieutenants. But if the aliens want our food so badly, who are we to deny them? Detective Rachel Stone was working around the clock to shut down the smuggling operations, but new ones appeared faster than she could stop them. Her reports to Federation Command painted a grim picture of a galaxy spiraling out of control over something as simple as human cuisine. The situation is beyond our ability to contain, she wrote. Every day we delay finding a solution, more civilizations fall into chaos. We need to work with the humans to solve this problem. The first shot of the Flavor Wars was fired on a Tuesday morning near the Rigel 7 system. Admiral Susan Clark watched from the bridge of her Federation cruiser as the warrior clans attacked a food storage facility. The massive alien ships looked like flying fortresses, covered in spikes and weapons that glowed with deadly energy. Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from clan leader Groktar. Her communications officer reported, the main screen filled with the image of a terrifying creature. Groktar was 12 feet tall with 4 arms, each ending in claws that could cut through steel. His face was covered in scars from 1,000 battles, and his eyes burned with the fierce desire of someone who had tasted barbecue sauce and could not forget it. Federation weaklings, Groktar roared. We claim this facility and all the human food within it. Our warriors have tasted the fire sauce of Earth, and we will have more, even if we must burn the galaxy to get it. Admiral Clark had been a soldier for 30 years, but she had never fought a war over food before. Clan leader, that facility contains medical supplies for 12 different planets. You cannot attack it. Medical supplies mean nothing to us, Groktar replied. We know there are 3 bottles of Earth hot sauce in Storage Bay 7. Those bottles are worth more than all your medicine. Surrender them or we will take them by force. The battle lasted 6 hours. Federation ships tried to use non-lethal weapons to stop the warrior clans, but the aliens fought with desperate fury. They were not just fighting for treasure or territory, they were fighting for the most addictive substance they had ever encountered. By the time the shooting stopped, 17 ships were destroyed and hundreds of beings were dead. All for 3 bottles of hot sauce that most humans would not even consider very spicy. The news of the battle reached Earth and the Federation capital at the same time. High Chancellor Vexara called an emergency meeting with UN Secretary General Robert Kim. The meeting took place aboard the diplomatic vessel New Horizon. Floating in neutral space between Earth and the Federation blockade, Robert had been Earth's top diplomat for 8 years, but nothing had prepared him for this situation. He sat across from the shimmering energy form of the Chancellor, trying to find words that could prevent a galactic war. Chancellor, we never wanted any of this to happen, he said. Humans have been eating this food for thousands of years. We had no idea it would affect other species this way. The Chancellor's energy form pulsed with different colors as she spoke. Your intentions may have been peaceful, Secretary General, but the results have been catastrophic. In the past month, we have seen more conflicts than in the previous century. Civilizations are collapsing. Trade routes are being abandoned. The very foundation of our peaceful galaxy is crumbling. Robert looked at the reports spread across the table. Each one told a story of chaos caused by human food. What can we do? We've tried creating safer versions of our foods, but removing the dangerous chemicals makes them taste like nothing. We've tried completely stopping all food exports, but the black market just gets stronger. Before the Chancellor could answer, they were interrupted by an urgent communication from Dr. Jennifer Ross on Earth. She was a young scientist who had been working on the biological effects of human food, and she had just made a discovery that could change everything. "Secretary General, I need to speak with you immediately," Dr. Ross said, her face excited but tired on the communication screen. "I think I've figured out why human food affects aliens the way it does." Robert and the Chancellor listened as Dr. Ross explained her research. She had been studying the brain patterns of aliens who had tried human food, and she had discovered something amazing. "It's not just chemical," she said. "The effects are also psychological. Human food doesn't just change alien body chemistry. It awakens parts of their minds that have been sleeping for thousands of years." She showed them brain scans from Ambassador Zethkar and the other affected aliens. "Look at these neural patterns. When they taste human food, entire sections of their brains light up that have been dormant. We're seeing the activation of what I can only call taste memories, evolutionary responses that most alien species suppressed long ago." The Chancellor's energy form grew brighter with interest. "Explain this theory, human scientist." Dr. Ross pulled up more data. Most alien civilizations advanced by simplifying their diets. They focused on efficient nutrition and eliminated the complex flavors that reminded them of their primitive past. But humans went the opposite direction. We made our food more complex, more flavorful, more emotionally connected to our experiences. Robert began to understand. So when aliens taste our food, it's not just the chemicals affecting them. It's awakening instincts and emotions they had forgotten they possessed. "Exactly," Dr. Ross said. "That's why the effects are so intense and long-lasting. We're not just giving them drugs, we're giving them back parts of themselves they lost when they became civilized." This discovery led to a breakthrough in the peace negotiations. If the problem was not just chemical but also psychological, then maybe there was a solution that did not involve banning human food completely. The compromise came from an unexpected source. Chef Carlos Rivera, who had been working with alien scientists at the newly created Galactic Culinary Institute, proposed a radical idea. "What if we don't try to make human food safe?" he suggested during a video call with the negotiators. "What if we create special places where aliens can experience it safely, with proper medical support and psychological preparation?" Working with Dr. Fluxina, a brilliant alien scientist who looked like a living computer, Carlos had been developing protocols for the controlled consumption of human food. They had discovered that aliens could safely experience human cuisine if they were properly prepared and supervised. "We call them flavor zones," Dr. Fluxina explained. "Specially designed facilities where aliens can explore human cuisine in a controlled environment. Medical teams would be standing by, and psychological counselors would help visitors process the intense emotional responses." The idea was revolutionary. Instead of trying to eliminate the effects of human food, they would embrace them while making sure no one got hurt. The negotiations continued for weeks. Federation mediator Quindle worked with Robert Kim to create a framework that would satisfy both sides. The Terran Culinary Accords, as they came to be called, established a completely new relationship between humans and the galaxy under the Accords. Earth would join the Federation, but with special responsibilities. Humans would become the galaxy's first culinary guardians, responsible for the safe distribution of their food throughout the galaxy. Strict export quotas would limit how much food could leave Earth, and severe penalties would be imposed on anyone caught trafficking human cuisine. Illegally, the flavor zones would be built on neutral territories throughout the galaxy. Each one would be staffed by human chefs working alongside alien medical experts. Visitors would go through extensive preparation before trying human food, and they would be monitored for weeks afterward to ensure their safety. The signing ceremony took place on Earth in the United Nations building in New York. Representatives from hundreds of alien species gathered to witness the historic moment. Ambassador Claire Thompson, Earth's new representative to the Federation, signed the document with a pen made from crystallized Vorthan light. Today we recognize that the most powerful forces in the universe are not weapons or technology, she said during her speech. They are the simple things that bring us together, shared meals, common experiences, and the bridge of understanding that food can build between different peoples. The first official flavor zone opened 6 months later on the Federation capital. The restaurant was called simply Earth Kitchen, and it was run by a team of human chefs working with alien medical staff. The waiting list to get a reservation was over 50 years long. Ambassador Zethkar was given the honor of being the first official customer. He had recovered from his original experience with barbecue sauce, but he still glowed slightly brighter than other Vorthans. As the galaxy's first culinary safety commissioner, it was his job to make sure the new system worked properly. He sat at a table across from a human chef named Mike Turner, who had volunteered to help with the opening ceremony. Between them was a small plate with a single chicken wing covered in mild barbecue sauce. "Are you ready, Ambassador?" Mike asked with a smile. Zethkar's crystal body hummed with nervous energy. "I have been preparing for this moment for months. But I must ask, is this sauce as powerful as the one from the original dinner?" Mike laughed. "This is actually much milder. We call it beginner's barbecue sauce. But don't worry, if you want to try the stronger stuff later, we'll work up to it." Slowly, as Zethkar carefully absorbed the wing into his crystal matrix, his body began to glow with a soft, warm light. This time, the glow was controlled and beautiful, like a sunset captured in living crystal. "It is remarkable," he said softly. "I can taste not just the flavor, but the care that went into making it. The love of the cook, the history of the recipe, the joy of sharing food with others. This is not just nutrition, it is art." Mike nodded. That's what food is supposed to be. Not just fuel for the body, but fuel for the soul.